This is the Ag Queen Podcast. This podcast explores the agriculture industry with the movers and shakers of those shaping it. Here's your host, Lorrie Boyer.
My guest today is Alex Dunn. She is the new CEO of CropLife America. Alex, tell us more about yourself and your background.
Thanks, Lorrie. Well, it's so great to be with you. So Alex Dunn at CropLife America, been here as the new CEO around 6 weeks. And I tell you, I have my dream job. I am so honored to be working in the agricultural industry with pesticide manufacturers and being part of the solutions that help farmers. My background is I'm a lawyer by training. That it's not always a bad thing. So I've worked around a lot of really complicated issues here in Washington, D.C., trying to sort of be a problem solver and a collaborator. And that's really what drew me to CropLife, because CropLife believes in being a part of agricultural solutions and helping farmers have the tools that they need. And so after a number of years in other organizations in Washington working on environmental policy, the capstone was that I was at the EPA in charge of the pesticide program. And I did that for 2 years straight, and then went to a law firm for a couple of years, a Texas-based firm, and now I've come here. So, you know, I've worked at the state level, the local level, and the federal level of government. So I really understand government with like a capital G and a small g, and I think that is going to help us navigate the whole regulatory system that we have to live in and help us get the right products out there onto farm fields.
Before you came to CropLife America, where were you at?
I was at a law firm called Baker Botts, which is the largest firm west of the Mississippi, started in Texas. And I was in the Washington, D.C. office, but spent a lot of time in Texas and did a lot of environmental counseling, also did some work in the pesticide space, but had a very well-rounded set of issues that I worked on: clean water, clean air, and pesticides.
What made you decide to go from what you were doing to working for CropLife America?
I have spent 25 of my 30 years of law practice in advocacy-based organizations. As I mentioned, one was at the local level, working with municipal water districts. One was at the state level, working with state environmental officials. And I've also been with state water regulators, and I even worked for the chemical industry for a while. So I am an advocate at heart. I believe in being here in Washington, D.C. for a reason. A lot of decisions are made here, and being in a place like CropLife America, where we have a really strong agenda, we know what we want to advocate for, getting the right tools in the hands of farmers, a strong regulatory system so that everyone has confidence in our products, and problem solving. This is my place where I like to be, which is like I said, problem solving, collaborating, working with growers. CropLife has some really strong relationships with the grower community, and we want to make those even stronger.
Which segues right into my next question. Now that we know more about you, let's talk a little bit more about CropLife America and what the organization is.
Well, so CropLife America is the association of companies that make virtually all of the organic and non-organic pesticides in the United States. We have a very active organization. We've been around over 90 years, and the organization includes not only basic manufacturers of pesticides, but also formulators and distributors. So some of our members might touch a farm once a month, and some of our members are touching a farm once a week. We come together and provide a forum for these companies to work together on how to be a more effective and resourceful organization for our farmer and grower colleagues.
How many members do you have?
So we have approximately 40 core companies that are part of the organization. And then we have a lot of affiliate members that are consultants, law firms, policy experts who join our organization as affiliate members. So it's a very broad and diverse group of individuals that are really all welcome at our meetings. Our meetings bring all these folks together. We just held a meeting 2 weeks ago on regulatory issues, and we had over 80 regulators, state and federal regulators in attendance because, they want to learn from us and we want to learn from them. So we're very open and transparent, welcome a lot of engagement with our meetings and conferences.
Now, are you a lobbying organization?
We are. We do lobby, and we lobby for things that are absolutely important, we believe, to not only pesticide companies, but also to the grower community. So we have 3 primary lobbying areas that we're working on right now. I could tell you a little bit about those. Yeah, one of them surprises people. We lobby for funding for the U.S. EPA pesticide program. And I actually had someone ask me, well, why are you lobbying for EPA to receive funds to do their job? And it's an easy answer. We need EPA to have the funding to do a really good job so that there's confidence in pesticides as they go through a process with EPA to be evaluated for environmental impacts, human health impacts, make sure they're safe for the public and, of course, for the growers who are using them on their farms and with their families right nearby. So we do lobby very hard for funding for the EPA. We also lobby for EPA to use some of that funding to make predictable decisions for getting products to market. So if we have one of our companies has a new active ingredient that could be really helpful out in the marketplace, we're hopeful that EPA can use the funds that the pesticide industry contributes under the law, use those funds to be able to tell the industry you're looking at an 18-month process, it might be a full for market or a 24-month process. So the funding supports enough scientists to do that work in a predictable manner. And that way we can tell growers if there's a new tool for the toolbox coming when we think it might be coming. And then another area that we do a lot of lobbying on is trade, getting our American agricultural products, not only moving them within the United States, but moving them outside to other countries that purchase our products, making sure that there's a really great free market for American agricultural products. We work really hard on that front. And then we also are spending a lot of time working on the Endangered Species Act, which is something that is giving everyone out there a little bit of heartburn. And we're going to try to bring that heartburn down if we can.
What specifically on ESA are you looking for or lobbying for?
Well, I'd say on ESA, the law is 50 years old and EPA has to comply with it. And we have a very strong legal team and are very supportive of EPA doing all of its decisions in compliance with the law. And that means that every pesticide has to be evaluated to make sure that it's not going to adversely impact an endangered plant or insect or animal, but largely when we're dealing with crop products, we're talking about insects and plants. And EPA right now, because for a long time, they really weren't able to fulfill their obligations under the Endangered Species Act exactly the way the law intended. The agency entered into a settlement that with a number of parties, environmental groups, CropLife America, and many other stakeholders. And so the agency is doing a lot of work, and we really commend them to now develop a process where they can review pesticides and follow the Endangered Species Act at the same time. And the reason it's giving people heartburn is that some people think the Endangered Species Act sort of came out of nowhere and it's just all of a sudden become an issue. But it is a 50-year-old law. And it's just that EPA had a difficult time doing these species assessments. And so we're working really, really closely with the agency. They've done some incredibly good work to try to make sure that we don't lose acres for growing because we think there might be an endangered plant or insect there. We're trying to have as much certainty as possible.
Do you work in the realm of the herbicide strategy that they just recently released?
Yeah, that's a great question, Lori. And, we really want to commend EPA. They have done a terrific job with the most recent draft of the herbicide strategy. It showed that they listened to really everyone that had something to say about the first draft. So just like when we all were in school, we hope our second draft is better than our first draft of a paper. And this is a great example of that. The second draft was very well received only last week when it came out. And it really shows that the EPA is listening to the farmers, the growers, the pesticide manufacturers, and the environmental groups. So everyone's really pleased with the progress that EPA made on that herbicide strategy.
As I'm on your website, and perhaps you were going to get to this, but it looks like you're also working in the field of sustainability. And that just seems to be a topic that I talk about quite a bit with almost every ag organization. What is CropLife America's work in sustainability, and what is it to your organization?
Well, sustainability is central to our organization. It's one of our core pieces of our strategic work. And to demonstrate that, I have some exciting news to share with you and your listeners. Next week, we will be announcing and releasing a study that we commissioned with the University of Arkansas that looks at the sustainability outcomes of pesticide use on the farm. And we looked at corn, cotton, and soy. And the work was done by Professor Marty Matlock at the University of Arkansas. And the results will not surprise members of the agricultural community, because what they show is that by using just the right amount of pesticides, farmers are able to use less water, they reduce their greenhouse gas impacts, and they're also able to make a number of other really environmentally beneficial steps forward by using pesticides. And so again, this answer may not be a big surprise to farmers and growers, but now we have actual data to show that this is what we suspected and what we knew is backed up with data. So we're really excited. There's going to be a public webinar. I'm sure everyone's busy out in the field growing, but if they want to take a lunch break on May 16th, we're going to have a public webinar all about this study, which is called the life cycle assessment. And that's an example, Lori, of our work in sustainability.
Was there any other issues or topics to highlight here today?
Well, I think highlighting today is just that we are excited. I am excited to be a part of these conversations around agriculture and the American agricultural marketplace. It's really exciting to be around innovation and new tools in farming, and then to really have a lot of conversations with growers out there so that we understand what they need, and then the innovators within the companies that we work with can develop those tools for the farm. So it's just a super exciting industry to be a part of, and I'm really honored to have this role.
Alex, I'm going to go back to where we started here today as we get towards the end of the interview. What are some of your short-term and long-term goals as the new executive director of CropLife America?
Thank you for that question. So some short-term goals are to get to know the fantastic staff that we have here at this organization. We have people that have been with us for, over 15 years. And so I'm meeting everyone. I'm also getting to know the companies and really understanding how they play in the agricultural supply chain. So as I mentioned, some companies are what we call basic manufacturers. Some companies are formulators, some are distributors, some do all three. So really learning each company and how they work and where they work. And then I would say another short-term goal is getting to know the members of our grower advisory panel. We have a really exceptional group of growers who bring us from the field experiences, and sometimes will join us when we go visit members of Congress on Capitol Hill. Another short-term goal is we're hoping to get a farm bill passed, and we're working really hard on that farm bill. And I'm sure you cover a lot of farm bill stories in your work, but that's right up there for us. And then longer-term goals are to be really relevant to the conversations around agriculture that are happening. So being where people need us. and making sure we're bringing the right tools to the marketplace. And the only way we know that is by doing a lot of listening. So a long-term goal is to travel around and listen to growers and also a lot of our agricultural partners, the groups that represent all the different types of crops that we grow in America, the specialty crops, the commodity crops, and also, all members of the supply chain. It really is one big agricultural family out there, just trying to make sure people understand how important agriculture is to every American.
Alex, that's a great way to wrap up the show. Thank you so much for joining me. Once again, my guest here today, Alex Dunn, the new CEO of CropLife America.
Thanks for tuning in to this edition of the Ag Queen Podcast with your host, Lorrie Boyer.